Hello, welcome to our next session for Chapter 8. Today we will be talking about applying equations. And yes, we are going to be looking at word problems here. But hopefully these word problems won't be too scary. We're going to take a look at how we can break the phrases down and translate the phrases into mathematical expressions. First, specify what the variable represents, and then write an algebraic equation with it. So let's take a look at this example here. We have John has twice as many arrowheads as Kathy. Terry has 2 fewer than Kathy. Together, they have 38 arrowheads. How many arrowheads does Kathy have? So we want to define our variables, right? We've been doing that a lot before. And so we're just continuing that again here. Define your variables. Well, let's say K equals the number Kathy has. And why do we choose Kathy? Okay, because Kathy is the one that we are comparing to with John and with Terry. So we're going to use our variable to represent Kathy. And John has twice as many as Kathy, so that's going to be 2K. Terry has 2 fewer, okay, so then that's going to be Kathy's minus 2, because it's 2 fewer than Kathy's, and then Kathy's is K. And when you add them all up, it says all together they have 38 arrowheads. So we add this is John's, Kathy's, and Terry's. You add them up and it's equal to 38 arrowheads. So that's the equation that we would write to represent this word problem. Now it says do not solve, so you don't have to worry about solving this one. We're already done with this problem here. All right, now the next one, it says Jacob earns $300 per week plus $50 for every car that he sells. How many cars will he need to sell this week to earn a total of $700? So, what are we going to define as our variable? We could say C is the number of cars, and he's earning $300 plus $50 for every car he sells. So $50 is going to be times the number of cars that he sells, because it's $50 for every car he sells. You're going to have 300 plus 50 times C, and then that's going to, he's trying to earn a total of $700 for this week. And so we need to find how many cars he's going to be able to sell, or he needs to sell, in order to earn $700 this week. So there's our equation for this problem. Now, for the next one, again, let's try to define what our variable is. Twice a number plus 3 is the same as 3 times the number minus 2. What is the number? Okay, so twice a number plus 3. So we're going to try to define, let's say n is our number. Okay, so twice the number, that's going to be 2n, plus 3 is, so remember, is means equals, right? The same as 3 times the same number, so 3 times n, minus 2. And there's our equation. Okay, we don't have to solve. We're just rewriting these statements into these numbers here. If x is an even integer, how would you represent each of the following? So let's say x is an even integer. We want the very next integer. Now, the very next integer is going to be an odd number, right? Or an odd integer. Okay, so then that next integer is going to be x plus 1. But let's say you have you want the next even integer to this even integer, then we have to add 2x plus 2, and that will give us the next even integer. So let's say, for example, we have the number, our even integer is the number 6. Okay, the very next integer is going to be 7. 6 plus 1 equals 7. But if we want the next even integer, so from 6, we have to add 6 plus 2, and then that's going to give us the next even integer, which is 8. All right, let's take a look at our next example here. Find a number such that 5 times the sum of that number is -3, and -3 is less than 3, or is 3 less than the opposite of the number. Now we are the first thing you should do is look at where the is. Okay, now what did we say is should be? Is should be your equal sign. And so what you could do is take the first phrase, translate that, then you have the equal sign, and then you have the second phrase, 3 less than opposite the number. So the first phrase is on the left side of the equal sign, then you have the equal sign, then the next phrase, the second phrase. Okay, let's see what we've got. Okay, here's our equal sign, is, okay? So on this side, we have a number, okay, 5 times the sum of that number and -3. So first we have to take a look. The sum of a number and -3, that's the same as saying n minus 3, because this is the same as n plus -3, right? Okay, then 5 times that sum, 5 times this sum right here. Okay, that's how we get 5 times the quantity n minus 3. That is, right here is, so is equal to 3 less than the opposite of the number. So 3 less is -3. Then the opposite of the number is -n. So I have -n minus 3 for this side of the equation. Next, we will, now that once you have translated or written this word problem into your numerical phrases here, then you can take this equation and simplify it, and then we will solve for n. So if I distribute the 5 through this equation, here 5n minus 15, okay, because 5 times -3. And then over here is just still -n minus 3. I can simplify that even further. Here I'm going to add an n. That will cancel this out, become a 0. And on this side I have 5n plus n minus 15 minus or equals -3. I'm going to move or simplify that. 6n minus 15 equals -3. So now I'm going to move the 15 over to the other side. And I add 15 here so that the -15 plus 15 becomes 0. And that cancels out. Now I have -3 plus 15, because what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the exact same thing on the other side of the equation. So now 6n equals -3 plus 15 is 12. And then I'm going to divide by 6, and n is going to be equal to 2. All right, for our next, let's go over the steps in solving a word problem here. Okay, so represent an unknown quantity with a variable. So in other words, define your variable. x equals, or n equals, or k equals something. What are you looking for in the problem? That's what your variable is going to be. When necessary, represent other conditions in the problem in terms of the variable. So if it says twice a number, or the number -3, or 7 more than the number, that's what it means to represent in the other conditions in the problem in terms of that variable. Okay. Identify two equal quantities in the problem. So the phrases that are on either side of your equal sign, those are the two equal quantities that you need to identify, or we need to rewrite into our mathematical phrase, and then that will give us the equation. Write and solve an equation, and then check your answer. So check your answer, you can plug the value that you get for your variable, plug it back into the equation, and then there is to check to see, make sure that you've gotten the correct answer for your variable. All right, let's take a look at the next example here. We have the sum of two consecutive numbers is 173. Find the integers. So let's say that x is the smaller integer, and if it says two consecutive numbers, that means two numbers right in a row. Okay, x is the smaller integer, and then the larger integer is going to be one more than that, x plus 1. Then it says the sum of these two integers is 173. So I have x plus 1 is equal to 173. I can combine my x's, so like terms, right? And then simplify my equation. So I have 2x plus 1 is equal to 173. Then I can subtract the 1 to move it over to the other side. 2x now is equal to 172. And then I'm going to divide by 2. And my x is equal to 86. Then the next integer, the consecutive integer, is going to be x plus 1, which is 87. And I can go back and check. You can go back and check, does 86 plus 87 equal to 173? And you'll find that, yes, that is true. Here's our next example. Now we have